every time.
You
We
find
have-
out how many times you have.
Yeah.
We don't like to
Yeah.
brag.
A lot.
Jordan's on the radio.
Yeah.
Do you hear that story?
No, this is less than admin fee of
There's a picture of him.
5% of 9%.
On the website.
So-
All right, okay, we are on the air, and welcome everyone this evening. And I'll call the meeting to order. Would you like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary?
Olson. Collins. Johnson.
Here.
Kellum.
Here.
Kopsinski.
Here.
Coburn.
Here.
Canopa.
Here. And Collins is excused. Okay, scheduled business this evening. We have a little bit different of an order. And Miss Catherine Ingalls, would you like to start?
Oh, Catherine. Oh.
All right, and we have some special guests attending also.
Never let it be said that we're not sneaky.
Oh, you are just bright red now. You are just red as can be now. Oh, gosh. So, well, it has been a long time. 24 years. She has been our reporter for the city of Albany. Done a fantastic job. She has been in this building alone, 17, 18 years in this building alone. So she was even from our old city hall that was up above Two Rivers. So for a city hall reporter, she probably knows more about city government than more newer counselors coming on board, basically. She knew more about city government than when I started. So it takes years of, being able to really be here, reporting on all the issues that when we bring up things like system development charges or local improvement districts, Kathy knows it. It takes a lot of years of being able to learn all those acronyms, and you've been wonderful. But for her reporting, there's many things, I can always go on and talking, but it's very hard to be able to bring up certain stories because publicly somebody's going to be on the opposite side of the fence if I bring something up. But Kathy and I can go on for years of the stories that we had experienced together. Personal one, when my daughter one time had a car wreck, that her car went in Oak Creek, I arrived, get out of my car, and who's there? Kathy. It was nice kind of having the comforting, I know I did, as a familiar face, being there for when it was such a, traumatic, episode to have to experience. But many things, that Kathy was always, always there in our community. She knows every part of Albany, and she knows our city government, and she's done a fantastic job for us. But so with that, I have a certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Kathy Ingalls in recognition of 24 years of dedicated service in providing news and insight to the citizens of Albany. Okay? Yes? And not too many people get this, this type of gift. So usually a lot of times it might be we've had some congressional leaders, we've had, folks that have, been retiring counselors. I always want to make sure somebody, when they retire off the council, they get this gift. But Kathy has been here for so many years, spent just as many hours in a meeting as most counselors. And so you get the key to the city. She has earned it. Many late nights, and I remember when the Democrat Herald used to have the afternoon paper for many years until recently, and Kathy, you would come to work at 7:30, always after council meeting. or 7. My telephone would ring at 7 a.m. Kathy's like, I got to finish this story. I've got to follow up. I need this information. I think she was calling most everybody then in those early mornings. So the one advantage of having a morning newspaper, we don't get the early morning phone calls like we used to. But I also asked some of your coworkers to come along and say a few words, and and as you know, some were on vacation too. But Mike McAnally and also Kim Jackson, if you'd like to come forward, and longtime Democrat Herald, news reporters, editors, and I know this is probably hard for you guys too, as it is for us.
Well, such a shame that Alex Paul couldn't be here.
He's been singing "Hit the Road, Jack" all week.
I don't have much really to add to what you said, Madam Mayor, except to note that with my Gazette-Times connection as well, when Kathy walks out the door on Monday, it'll be the first time in close to a century that Ingalls hasn't been at some sort of Mid-Valley newspaper. Their father and grandfather, longtime publishers and executives at the Gazette-Times, so it really is an end of an era. And I think she served the city of Albany and our readers extremely well over the years that she's been covering the city government and whatever else needed to be covered when it came up. So, Kim, I know you're dying to share a few words, but on behalf, thanks so much for everything. And I should also add public party for Kathy 3 to 5 on Friday at the Democrat Herald.
So this is going into the record, is it?
It sure is.
Yes.
So it's not a roast. Here, you might want to keep that. Kathy, he said pretty much everything I wanted to say. Was that our readers and the newspaper have been greatly served by you and your time here at City Hall. I can only speak for myself that working with you for the past 26, 27 years, whatever it is, it's been a long time. You've been an inspiration to all of us at the paper, and that we are proud to call you a fellow journalist. Thank you so much.
For you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We love you and we'll miss you.
And she is truly a journalist too. So yes, thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming. But yeah, thank you.
Speech? No speech?
You got to say a few words. Come on over. We always have the camera on us. It's you got to be in front of that camera now.
Well, I wanted to thank all of you for getting back to me with answers to my questions. And Marilyn, thank you, because you knew what it was like to be a journalist, and you were very good and precise. And Stuart, I am so sorry for all the times I called you and didn't understand finance questions, and you were so patient. Thank you. And Jim, with legal things, Jim would always say, well, no, this isn't for publication, so we'd go through da-da-da-da-da, and then we finally could get to the meat. But thank you, and I enjoyed working with you and Smokey. So, and thank you all. I just appreciate this. I'm just so surprised. Thank you.
Oh, Kathy.
No pressure. The mayor wanted me to say something as well, and I probably should. I've known Kathy as a colleague or a competitor for 33 years. We worked together at the Statesman Journal when it was still the Capital Journal and the Oregon Statesman. That was for 6 months before the papers merged back in 1980. And then as co-workers at the Democrat Herald from 1989 until 1999. And since then, I've been on the other end of the phone and on the other end of the pen, and it's been painful at times, but I always know when Kathy calls, there's a friend on the other end of the phone. So ultimately, we end up talking about stuff that matters to us besides work, and I will miss that. But I won't miss Kathy because she's still in my reading group, and I'll be seeing her at least once a month for the rest of our natural lives.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Did any counselors want to say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say that a few weeks ago, Kathy informed us that she was going to retire, and some applauded, but I did not. In fact, and I said afterwards, I'm going to be sorry to see you go, because we always get a good, solid article about our meetings, and we're always treated fairly and kindly. And oftentimes we do need kind treatment by the press. So, thanks, Kathy.
I was gonna
Yeah, Bessie?
Yeah, Kathy, I've enjoyed working with you tremendously. And one thing that I've really appreciated is sometimes if you can't get out the words that you want, you kind of help us along, at least help me along, saying, okay, and I said, well, yeah, that's how I want to say it, that type of a thing. And like I mean, you're just a straight shooter. And I have, you call and say, oh, that wasn't quite right. Oh, there's a correction right away and whatever, which didn't happen but once in all the time I've been here. So I just want to say congratulations and enjoy that first day when you don't have that alarm clock. You're welcome.
And Mayor, I wanted to add that as city attorney, I'm clearly a partisan. I'm not impartial. I'm trying to do that which the council has chosen to do. And from time to time, I, like many councilors, wish that the news was different. But one of the things I've got to say about Kathy is that I've never known a reporter who worked harder at getting the facts right. Kathy would check with staff. We didn't get to write her stories or control her perspective, but she always gave us the chance to try to get the facts right, to share with her what we understood the facts to be. Again, we didn't control the story, but I don't know of anyone who ever worked harder at giving us a chance to share the information. So even when we didn't like the story, a few of us could really complain we weren't treated fairly.
Yes. I agree.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. I'm going to really miss you. Just, being right in front of me all the time. I'm going to really miss seeing you. I know. And many times, too, we would just be able to go home after a late night meeting, and poor Kathy would have to drive out of town to get home. I saw you had a lot of late night, dark, rainy nights, too. But thank you. Thank you. And yes, her retirement party will be at the Democrat Herald on this Friday from 3 till 5 p.m., and that is the 27th. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike and Kim. Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
And Mark.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, council, first on the agenda is communication, and this is accepting Leonora Rodriguez's resignation from the Human Relations Commission.
I'd move that we accept Lenore's resignation and send her a note of thanks. I will say, I know Lenore from working at the county, and she is the most empathetic and kind person I think I've ever met. And so I'm not exactly sure why she's resigning, but she will be missed.
Second.
Yeah. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next is business from the public, and Albany Visitors Association has an item to bring forward this evening. Yep,
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Bond with the Albany Visitors Association, and here to share the results of our summer passport program here in Albany. It's a program that was designed for children and their families, and I'm just going to hand these out. If you could take one and pass it around. Oh, or Jimmy can give you one. Okay. So, while he's passing those out, I'll give you just a brief review of the program. The passport program came from one of our annual Historic Albany Summits, which is when the groups who are interested in Historic Albany or individuals come together each year to talk about what's going on and how they might better work together. And from our second summit came the first passport program, and that was back in 2012. And the first passport was actually a handkerchief, and the map was printed right on that. This second one was printed similar to a real passport, so kids put their their photo here and their name, and they have a place for their passport number. This was actually designed by Kaylee Sauer, who was one of our partners at the Albany Regional Museum. And you'll notice on the back we have Extreme Graphics and the Lynn County Cultural Coalition. Extreme Graphics printed this. And the reason I bring that up is that this program is absolutely free to children and their families. So there's no charge for the materials, and there's no charge to get a stamp. If you look inside, each of the participating locations has a designated area. These are our partners are listed on the report that you've been given, and so they would stamp in that spot. And the kids are encouraged to go and get all of those stamps. So the flyers that we developed for this program went out to the schools, so it's a reasonably cost flyer. 4,000 of them went out to all of the elementary schools in Albany. And we also had the flyer posted on our website, and we sent out media releases, and it was in the Summer in the City, which is the summer publication that the Democrat Herald puts out. And we also have a Facebook page. It is pay to play, so each of the partners that are listed paid $50 to partner with us, and they contributed a gift, a raffle prize worth up to $25. They're gift certificates or prizes. And so then when the kids go to get their stamps at each of the locations, they're supposed to earn their stamps. So they would maybe answer a question or look for a clue in the library, or find out how old the train station is. Or at some of the businesses, they had activities like the Step Above Hobbies had them take track time on their racetrack, a little car racetrack. And the kids love that. So they were encouraged to go to all 20 places, and if they finished the whole passport, then they would get an extra stamp for these fabulous prizes. And the top prize was from Amtrak, and they gave us 2 round-trip tickets from Albany to Portland for an adult and a child. That was the big grand prize. But equally coveted was the ride on the fire truck to school, and those adults that were involved with this program would like one of those rides too, but this was a program just for kids, so adults couldn't win that one. We had over 200 kids come in and sign up for the program. And at the end of the summer, when they turned in their passports, they actually got to keep them. We just checked how many stamps they had, so they got to keep their passports. But they would get raffle tickets for each one, and we had 83 kids came in with their passports to exchange those stamps for raffle tickets, and about half of them came to the Albany Regional Museum for the raffle party, which was on September 7th. We held it in conjunction with the Antiques in the Streets, which was another fun thing that families could do afterwards. And we gave out over 20 prizes, and if the kids didn't get one of those fabulous prizes or a door prize, then we gave them a parting gift. So all the kids that were present got something. They went home with something. It was a necklace or a deck of cards or a Frisbee or something fun. So it was really fun for a lot of the kids, and that party actually brought in about 100 families, or 100 people, about 50 families, to the Albany Regional Museum. I think you have the list of all of our partners from this year. There were 20 this year. We're hoping to do the same program again next year. Everyone seems to be interested in doing that. If you have any questions of me, I'm happy to answer them, or my contact information is there as well. Okay.
Rebecca? No?
Great.
Wonderful.
All right.
Sounds like fun.
So,
Yes.
I know. Thank you so much for all you do.
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
doing so much to promote a lot of our events. The Visitors Association does a fantastic job, and we are doing great with our tourism, so those numbers are really up. So it's a fantastic job. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next is first reading, an ordinance.
This is an ordinance to levy an assessment against property especially benefited by water connections and the assessment of water system development charges for property described as tax lot 1100 of parcel 11S 3W 8CC-1100 and site address 2120 Gary Street Southeast, and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion, the ordinance be read a second time in title only.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, second reading.
An ordinance to levy an assessment against property specially benefited by water connections and the assessment of water systems development charges for property described as tax lot 1100 of parcel 11S 3W8CC 1100 and site address 2120 Gary Street Southeast and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion for adoption of the ordinance.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, okay, next ordinance is on page 6.
It's an ordinance amending ordinance number 5801, which amended the Albany zoning map relating to South Albany area plan adoption to correct a reference error in section 3 and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion, the ordinance be read a second time in title only.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, second reading.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 5801, which adopted the Albany zoning map relating to South Albany area plan adoption to correct a reference error in section 3 and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion for adoption of the ordinance.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. So, next is a resolution. This is on page 18. And Stuart, do you have any words on this one?
To make some comments, describe a little bit what the program is. In 2007, the city adopted a purchase card program in conjunction with Wells Fargo Bank. And a purchase card is basically a credit card that has specific controls behind the use of the card. And it's ideally used to provide flexibility for convenience in purchases. And the purchases are generally very small item purchases, and generally purchases that are needed to correct an emergency in field operations. The types of vendors would be A1 Coupling or Staples or Fred Meyer, those types of vendors. We have participation in the city of purchases of that level amount to about $50,000 a month. So it's a fairly significant amount of purchases that are made through the purchase cards. Some of the controls that are in place include a cardholder agreement, as well as transaction or credit limits on transactions or monthly credit limits as well. We also limit the types of merchants that the card can be used at. Types of purchases that are used on the cards that are often greater than the maybe $100, which is the typical purchase, would be purchases for travel or training. Those are generally a little bit higher dollar amount, but they do provide the cards provide the convenience for those types of purchases. And in those instances, there's an additional level of approval by a supervisor for the travel in addition to the approvals that are required on the card. We're looking at changing the bank that will provide the cards from Wells Fargo Bank to Bank of America. There are better, more favorable terms in the Bank of America contract as far as fees for use of the cards, and particularly the significant advantage is participation in a consortium of other Oregon cities and counties, that participate on the same contract. So the proposal or the recommendation is that we piggyback on a City of Portland procurement card program and participate with 45 other Oregon cities, counties, and special districts in participation of their purchase card program. The threshold for a rebate on purchases applies to the entire consortium, where our current program is a dollar amount that we won't come close to achieving and participating in a rebate. So with the Bank of America program that we're suggesting, with no fees on transactions and no fees on new cards and other fees that do come into play with our current program, plus participation in the consortium, we anticipate an $8,000 to $10,000 net savings to the city on an annual basis. And I'd be happy to answer questions, particulars about the program.
The card, is it considered a rewards card?
No. And, well, other than, it's not a rewards card, it's in this case, we'll be switching from a Visa to a MasterCard as the processor. The reward would be participation in the consortium and eligibility for the city to receive savings.
Well, a rewards card from my perspective as a person who takes credit cards. The merchant sometimes can spend up to 5% on some rewards cards, and it does not say on the face of it. Now, it used to be that you could not charge. I mean, if I knew that it was a rewards card, by my agreement, virtually all agreements with Visa, MasterCard, you had to accept any card that walked in your door as long as it would show that it was legitimate. You couldn't refuse a card, and you couldn't charge somebody for it. That is no longer the case. But if it's not a rewards card, I would be interested to know if there is, because you do you have the possibility of getting money back, what the situation is when the merchant goes to get the money.
What their processing costs would be.
Because, you can get processing for a few points, or up to 5%, which if it's some kind of competitive, well, like with myself, if it's a name brand welding machine, the maximum amount of margin, if you charge list price, and some of them is 20%. Well, if you take 5% out of it, that's a horrendous chunk of change. So I would be interested to know. I don't have any issue against it. I mean, it was each of us, but.
That's a very good question. I'm not aware of how the fees apply to the processors, so I'll find that out.
Yeah, the city has used a card at my location. No, it's not like it's not a problem.
Hey, Ray.
How many city staff have these cards?
Right now, they're provided in two different ways. One is an individual card holder, so as I mentioned, an individual card holder agreement. So on the face of the card, it would indicate the individual's name and City of Albany together. A second method is, in the case of Public Works, primarily, we have a Public Works operations card, and we have a Public Works travel card, I think. Anyway, a couple different cards. All total, there are about 150 cards. However, about half of those are in the vault in finance, where the individual doesn't keep the card in their possession, but rather checks it out when they have a need. Like I'm a very infrequent user of a purchase card, maybe once or twice a year for a membership and maybe one travel. So my card stays in the vault and I check it out when I have a need. So there are occasions, where the individuals have a card in their possession, or that is an option, and that's why the controls are behind the card.
That's what I was going to say. The account oversight is, how often does that, audited or balanced or something, or come into the budget? That's just once a year somebody looks at it and says, whoops, we went over, or how does?
No, actually, as I described with the credit limits, so there's a transaction check as well as a monthly credit limit. And then on a monthly basis, the cardholder needs to go into their online account and provide a description for each transaction. And then as they approve their transaction, it's automatically emailed to a supervisor approval. And every card has both the cardholder approval and a supervisor approval associated. One advantage of the new program as well is there's a little more access to how often that can be done. So it'll be a benefit as well.
Bessie?
Stuart, this is for purchases only, correct? It has nothing to do with customers coming in and using it to pay for things. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, now, since there's a pretty good deal here, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, is there anything that can be done on the other side of it to where, because, that's a line, we have that I've always thought, if they're going to use a credit card, they need, customers need to pay for it, but we haven't done that, so.
Right, and that's the city being in the position that Councilor Kellum was talking about in processing the payment, that we get charged for that processing. And so, actually, And recently, we brought to the City Council a transition from Wells Fargo Bank to U.S. Bank for treasury services and also for, and that's referred to as merchant processing. So we process a merchant's payment. And we receive more favorable rates on that as well, on the cost to process. And there are rates that are specific to local government and particularly utility payments. And so we make sure that we fall into the correct category to try to maximize or decrease the cost as much as we can on the processing side as well.
What kind of rates are we looking at? What were they before, and what's the rate now? Say on utility, let's go with that.
Yeah, and they're typically around 2 to 3%, and the difference would be pretty small on the transaction, but closer to 2% than 3%, where previously we were closer to 3%. So significant savings over the volume of purchases, but a very small on a per transaction basis.
That I think that maybe in the future, maybe during budget, wherever, that might be something that we look at again. As the funds get shorter and whatever. So, thank you.
I pay 1.4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's cheaper stuff out there. It's getting real competitive.
Well, it would certainly.
Yeah, because it used to be 2.6, 3.2. Now 1.4 or 1.48 is real common. But see, there are categories. So if you swipe the card, if you get a number, if it's over the internet, it's jacked up. If it's over the phone, it's jacked up. It'd be something to stay on top of, because it's changing now.
I appreciate that.
All right, any other questions, or what would the council like to do with this item?
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second?
all right. Any more questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. And actually, from business from the public, there's a couple in the back. I thought maybe you might have been with the Visitors Association. Did you have an item you wanted to bring forward?
No, we're just here in observation.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Welcome.
yeah.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, was there anyone else that was business from the public? So, okay, all right, thank you. Council, next is adoption of the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion unless there's an item that you would like to have pulled off this evening for discussion.
Move for adoption of the consent calendar?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, next is some appointments, and this is on page 40. And let's see, first one is Ann Bose, and I saw also that she just opened up a shop in the downtown. The Arts Commission, that's one of my appointments, but I always let the Arts Commission kind of interview their candidates, and this was their recommendation, since they know more about art than I do. And the other one is Robert Duncan's, and that is Councilor Kopsinski's appointment for the Human Relations Commission. All right. Council, what would you like to do with these two appointments?
I would move that we approve the appointments for the Arts Commission and, what was the other one?
And Human Relations.
And the Human Relations Committee, yes.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. And the next is the Community Development Commission. And the slate that we have, or mostly all that were on the task force, so we felt starting out with this commission, it would make it expedite the process, since everybody's already gone through what the programs are about that were identified. Instead of, other words, we would be going through all the programs again, so it just kind of made this easier to be able to start up this commission with almost the same slate that we had for the task force. But there's one item here, so for ratification, I would need you to make a motion without Bill Higbee at this point. Bill needed to get final approval from his supervisor at the bank that he works at. And so he'll be getting back to us in a few days on that, so we can't fully put his appointment on there without, confirmed approval for him on that one. So the motion would need to be for the Community Development Commission for ratifying him without Bill Higbee at this point. Okay. Question?
I can say it looks like it's a pretty wide spectrum of people, occupations, retirees and stuff. I just wondered what the rest of the council thought, if they agreed with that, or if there's something that we're missing in here.
Well, this is what you already went through on the makeup of how you wanted the makeup for this commission. That was the ordinance that was passed.
Yes.
Last time. So this was, each one of these appointments represent somebody that was a part of, say, the financial industry, housing industry, social services, and all that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Ray?
I do need to mention, I show on here that it shows Terry Knoll as being Community Services Consortium, and also shows myself as being Community Services Consortium. We're two different divisions completely in that organization. I don't think there's any conflict there, but I need to bring that up and so that you can see it. It's on paper, but I should bring that up.
No, good point on that. Okay, questions? Yeah, Rich?
As I recall, there was supposed to be somebody from the housing industry?
Housing, yes, that'd be Wanda Keeney from Habitat for Humanity.
That's not exactly housing industry is what I was thinking. I was thinking someone who was a builder or someone who, when they talk about, gee, what's available, how can you make it, that they're going to have an intrinsic understanding of how the place is put together or something.
Right. So how the program came out for the way, for the funding for each type that's going to end up being for housing is pretty much going to be it's going to be for low-income housing. So it's pretty much, a regular builder is not going to be able to tap into this source of funds. So, but what we were looking at is trying to get the agencies together to get more dollars out of the program by getting everybody kind of collaborating together on certain projects. That's sort of with CSC. They also have a part of their portfolio is the building aspect to it for doing the weatherization and a lot of the home improvements. So they have a source of funds that they can tap into. So does Habitat for Humanity, because what we're thinking is a lot of the housing rehab, where Habitat Humanity has gotten into the housing rehab. Well, they get the volunteers to do it, so you can be able to really get a big bang for a buck when you're able to get volunteers in to be doing a lot of the housing rehab.
But that doesn't leave the expertise on the commission. That's what I was talking about. I don't think that anybody, if you're serving on a commission of some sort, you shouldn't be getting a bunch of benefits from that same commission.
Right, and we addressed that, Ann. Did you want to come forward on that, where for the housing industry, when we had discussed it earlier, what is the total guidelines from HUD on the housing industry aspect of it?
Mayor, Councilors, Ann Catlin, Community Development Department. I just wanted to point out that I raised the same issue as Mr. Kellum, but actually Wanda is actually a contractor, and they do build houses and affordable housing, so they are in a housing builder, and so I thought that fit that category, especially because they have their contractor's license. But as far as conflicts of interest, economic interest, I was trying to look at this list with that lens, and the primary source of funding that this commission will provide guidance on, and you all will make the final recommendation on, is the public services category of funding. We've already allocated most of the other categories, and looking at the list of folks on your first round of appointments, I was looking at it, would there be any conflict of interest? And Sharon is mentioning something about HUD, and there is no something about HUD. We decide what programs we want to put money towards, and just a reminder, there is money going towards community development projects, so we'll have some money that the city will spend on parks repairs and parks improvements, as well as some sidewalk ADA improvements with curb ramps. And there will be some money going to Lynn Benton Community College for the microenterprise program, and then public services funding, a little more for economic development, and then the housing funding will actually go to an existing program. So this first year, as we're figuring things out, I think it was Sharon's thought that so we can move things along, that we try to appoint a few folks that have some experience that we did learn in this last year. But I don't see any issues with conflict of interest given what we'll be reviewing this first couple of years.
And what kind of contractor is Wanda Kinney? Is it a building contractor? Okay.
A general.
And Habitat
General
has
contractor.
several licensed contractors on there that help out with Habitat for
They
Humanity, too.
and they actually are a contractor. They had to get their license, and I was on the board at the time when Wanda got her license. So as a builder, they have their builder's license. But in looking at this list, it is quite a long list of people or different areas, and we are a relatively small community, so we will need suggestions, I think, over time for how to fill these slots, and I think we'll learn a lot with the role of this commission and the makeup of the commission this year.
Yeah. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. All right. What would you like to do, this item?
Move for adoption of the ordinance, or the appointments, I mean.
Appointments, okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Second, okay. And any more discussion? Okay, all those in
That's
favor?
without Mr. Higbee?
What's that?
That's without Mr. Higbee?
Oh, yes, without Mr. Higbee. Excluding Bill Higbee, it's part of the motion, yeah.
Amended that.
Right, yeah. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next is business from the council, and Rich, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, I do. Yesterday, Bessie and I went to Blue Ox, and I understand that others on the council have been contacted by Blue Ox. It appears that they are in a little different situation than the other people who do what they do. And there is a question of how valuable the fact that we have available spaces for RVs that would come in off the freeway are to Albany. And so with that, I would request that we have this issue put on, turned into a work session in a couple of weeks. Not real quick, but right now, the gentleman does not own the Blue Ox. He has an option on it, and his option runs out December 15th. And he kind of needs to know whether or not, because right now, the way it is, it's not viable. So he needs to change something in order to make it viable, to keep that asset for us. So I would like to have a work session within a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something like that, so we can get the information together and get a good decision.
Yep, I agree. We've already been kind of having conversations about having that, because there has been quite a bit of dialogue, I think, with Mr. Letman contacting counselors, and pretty much everybody knows about it now, that it's pretty much, in kind of a public arena now. So I think that would be a good idea to get that scheduled then for a work session. But, okay, anything else, Rich?
To that end, I actually have a meeting scheduled to meet him at the Blue Ox tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The meeting had been scheduled for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at his office. I got a quick email from Candace this morning. He wanted it changed to 1 o'clock at the Blue Ox. I said, I have no problem with that, just to get some fact-finding information and go from there, so.
At the risk of putting my foot in it, I want to counsel the council to reserve judgment on this matter until you've heard from staff. This property has a lengthy and checkered history, and it has cost the city thousands of dollars that should not have spent. Now, that was under a former owner, and you're going to need to hear all of the facts. So I would encourage you, I'm sort of uncomfortable when you're getting in these one-to-one contexts that you may feel it's easy to agree if you haven't heard staff's side of the story. So wait till you've heard everything before you make any decisions, and then whatever you decide is, of course, fine.
That's why I asked for a work session.
Exactly, yeah. We haven't agreed to anything. In fact, that kind of said the opposite, we have to get all the information and facts first, so, yeah, there's no decision.
All right, okay, Marilyn, you'll get that scheduled. All right. Anything else, Rich?
That's it.
Okay, Ray, anything? Okay, Bessie?
I don't think so. Rich stole my thunder.
All
I'm
right.
good at that.
Dale, nothing? Dan?
Yeah, apparently Mr. Letman's been doing his homework. He reminded me that I voted the right way in 2003 on this issue. So I don't know if I'll change my mind this time or not.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, and for me, I wanted to remind the council that we did reserve the trolley for the Veterans Day Parade. Veterans Day is a Monday this year, so I'll let you know ahead of time, and so everybody will be able to take the little quick trip that we go through the parade on the trolley, and we'll have our banners and our, actually, I think we need
to get a banner for Councilor Calvin.
Yeah, we
Yes,
need to
we
get his
do.
name
Yeah.
on it too, so, yeah, okay, and so put that on
You
your
have
calendar.
the rest of them, Mayor?
I do, they're still in my
Okay.
office in there, and I think the banner's in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me the date again.
It would be November 11th, and that's a Monday this year. Okay, all right, so put that on your calendars.
Over it.
And then anything, let's see, Stuart, anything? No. No? Okay, any staff have anything else? So,
So are you going to give us instructions as to how to wave, wrist, elbow, elbow, wrist, elbow, elbow?
I sure will.
Yeah.
And I'll be letting you know too where we'll be staged at ahead of time. Sometimes we've been over by the Legion on Jackson Street. We never know each time where they're going to have us start out at, so I'll let you know. Some of us sometimes kind of carpool over, and because it's a little bit hard to get to park close, to where we're staged at.
We were at the front, pretty close to
Yeah.
the front of the parade last year. It was wonderful.
But
A year before that, we were close to the end, and
Yeah, we
Forever.
got through really fast last time, so.
yes, we did.
Yeah. Okay,
It's great. It's
so with
fun.
that, and our work session is October 7th, the regular session October 9th. And Kathy, congratulations again on your retirement. Yeah, we'll miss you, but with that, we're adjourned.